Chris, I know you're really excited to start up the podcast again, but was the man in the ski mask and the windowless van really necessary?
What, to kidnap you to come back? Yes, it was.
Chris, it's so exciting to be back. Do you happen to know what date it is?
11/17?
It's more of a month. It's more of a feeling in your soul, Chris, because it's been 2 years since we last did the podcast.
Yes.
And it's been 3 years since we started Dumpstat.
Really?
And now look at you.
Like today?
Not today. But
so does that really count?
The month. We started in the month.
Oh,
it's a feeling in your soul, Chris. You can't just specify a single date. Do you remember your anniversary date, or do you remember the month?
We don't remember our anniversary at all. That's one of the great things about my wife. She doesn't remember either.
See, I don't know why you expect to even remember all this.
And don't tell me about, like, you feel it in your soul. You don't have a soul.
It is. It's very small. It's very shredded, and it's kind of black and like crumpled up in like a corner.
Oh, I thought there was just a gaping black hole of nothingness where it should be.
Probably. But anyways, Chris. So yes, exciting 3 years for Dumpstat, roughly. I mean, I think our first post was at the beginning of November, and this podcast will come out sometime later. I haven't quite decided when it's going to get released.
Whenever you decide that you're going to edit it and be done with it.
Yeah, pretty much. But yes, we're going to start up the podcast in kind of a limited capacity. I remember in our hiatus, we talked about how we might push and try and do some of the new releases from WotC, but unfortunately that fell through due to health reasons. But we are back to get this going, at least an episode a month. And, we'll see how things go. If it gets a lot more traction, then maybe we'll start doing more episodes. If people on our Patreon, again, Dumpstat, Patreon, come on now, guys, if you want to support us. If we get a lot of traction from that, then we'll look at doing a little bit more often.
Yeah, well, and I can't believe you're being this polite. I mean, I'm surprised you were like, it was Chris's fault that we stopped the podcast. But I just basically feel like I should say fuck cancer. I win, or well, at least for now. And yeah, so we're back.
We are. I also win because I get to talk for an hour and a half and everyone has to listen to me yammer on. We are talking about Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Not quite a Draconomicon, not quite a, I don't know. It's got a little something for everyone. And by that, I mean a little something for players, I guess, kind of. Not overly, a couple of pages for players. Though I'm sure WotC would love it if every single player bought their book.
The first chapter. I'll give them the whole first chapter.
I wouldn't even go that far.
Let me see.
Flipping it open.
There we go. That's the sound of us looking at things.
Folio. That would be... Okay, chapter 1, yeah, mostly. That's
16 pages.
Not even that.
Okay.
That's 8 pages for chapter 1.
Well, there's spells on the next one.
Oh, that's fair. Okay. So there are some things for players. It's not a huge amount. It's largely GM focused, though you didn't really ever get that from the advertising for it. At least from my perspective, I never really felt like it was a GM-centric book. I felt like it was more of a kind of how they've been doing other source books like Tasha's or Xanathar's. It's a everyone benefits from this book, whereas this one just kind of felt more like, yeah, there were some player options in there, but it's like I wouldn't tell my players to go buy this book. I would, like, if they're really interested in a subclass or the new spells or whatever, go on like D&D Beyond and just buy those 2 things and then save your money.
Everybody loves dragons.
Chris, I've never told this to you before. All throughout my childhood, I would collect dragon figurines, and I just thought dragons were the coolest. Which is why Charizard from Pokemon is the best starter, because it's a dragon.
I don't.
I know you're too old. You have no idea even what a Pikachu is.
Hey, I got a 12-year-old. He knows, and I've had to play the card game with him. So
okay. I played the card game, except the way I did it in my youth was I've never used the energy cards, so I didn't actually ever play the card game.
Those are kind of important.
So I've heard.
Even I know that.
But yeah. So back to this. It's a goodness gracious. How many pages? About over 224 pages. 224 pages exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All about dragons. Kind of, it's trying to be setting neutral, but there are sections that are focused on like Forgotten Realm. There's Dragonlance. I mean, it's a couple of paragraphs, and then everything else is the whole wide world of dragons and how you can have them across multiple spectrums across the multiverse. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do a little part so that you say to yourself, oh, look at us. We have the Dragonlance setting, and you can tweak it for this. And it's a tweak that doesn't make a difference. Same thing for Forgotten Realms, same thing for Eberron.
Yeah, it's 3 to 4 pages, 3 to 4 paragraphs, not even a full page talking about dragons in each world. It's very kind of generic, kind of setting neutral information, which I can appreciate. I appreciate that you can just, there are no like, this gold dragon always does this, and and then it's like, well, that doesn't really work for every setting. So I can appreciate why they went that way. What I don't quite understand, and you're old, you know more things than me. What the fuck is the first world?
Wow.
They just drop it in here. Like, so it's not in previous edition. And I was trying to do some research into it, and it just seems something that they dropped in this, and then they dropped it, like, kind of just name called it in, I want to say Tasha's, I think very, very briefly, like, not explaining any of it. For those who don't have the book and aren't quite sure, the first world is
spoilers.
The first world is basically the first world. It is the world that was formed before every other setting was ever created in the multiverse. You could even maybe say it was created even before like the outer planes and inner planes, though I'm not entirely sure on their timeline there. It was kind of...
We did something, or I did something, where they talked about it. They talked about the first world. Damn it, what was that?
Well, Pathfinder, Paizo's Galarian home setting has, instead of like a plane of fairies or a Feywild, they have what's called a first world, which is basically fairies and fey creatures, and also I think that's where gnomes come from, and so like
they can go back. Gnomes can go back.
Well, and also like I was getting confused from that. I was like, wait, are we like crossing streams here? I don't think we're crossing streams here, but yeah, so like it's
there is something that mentions first world. I can't remember what it is. It's fine because I'll remember it like when we're done. And yeah. Anyways, let's start with the title. Fizban. Do you know where Fizban's from?
I do.
You should.
It's Dragonlance.
Yes.
He's an he's an idiot in this. I'm just gonna put that one out there.
No,
why? I don't remember the setting. I don't remember the books that well. I don't remember if he was a doddering buffoon books. Maybe he was.
It is a blatant suck up to Dragonlance due to the issues they're having, or had, I think they're resolved, with the writers from the book. As far as I'm concerned.
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a suck up or if it's just, hey, Fizban did stuff with dragons. He's the avatar of Bahamut, or is he actually Bahamut? Who knows? Shoulder shrug.
Yeah, but nobody knows who the hell he is. I mean, honestly, no.
I mean, fans of Dragonlance know who he is, and they're the ones who are going to get excited, and then everyone else is just like, oh, pretty name. It's not like everyone knew who Tasha was when Tasha's Cauldron of Everything came out.
Which goes back to I was going to make my original point is, why isn't there Big B's? Why isn't there,
no one likes Greyhawk.
Well, yeah, I do. I still have the map.
Well, actually, no, Volo's is Forgotten Realms. Never mind. I'm out of ideas.
So, what about... Yeah, but everybody knows who Big B is.
Yeah.
He's got a bunch of spells.
But what does he do?
For older players, what about... Elminster. Jesus Christ, he
Elminster's an asshole, so...
Oh, yeah, he's a giant dick. All he does is scare little kids when he's doing his ecology of... Okay.
So your main gripe, apparently, with the book is that it's using Fizban instead of... I don't know.
It's just a weird...
Melf.
No. It's just a weird name to throw on there. I think it's obscure. I think it was something to, give the Dragonlance setting a little bit of pay them homage because they've had issues with them. I don't have an issue with it. It's just I found it weird.
They can pay homage even though if they're having issues. I don't think it's because they were having issues that they pay homage to them. But Fizban is, for those who know, the Dragonlance setting is I think there's always kind of like some debate whether he's an avatar of Bahamut or if he is Bahamut given kind of physical presence. There isn't a huge difference between those. One might decide that Fizban has a little bit more independence from Bahamut, but basically Bahamut is the platinum dragon. He is the god of dragons.
Which there's a stat block for, which I really like that there's a stat block for him and Tiamat.
Well, I mean, Tiamat's stat block is, I think it's the same one from Rise of Tiamat, so it's just an avatar placeholder kind of thing. I mean, CR30, so I'm always excited to see high-level stat blocks because there's enough high-level stuff.
Yeah. Well, that jumps us ahead to the end of the book, but I appreciate the stat blocks.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it. So anyways, the first world, kind of weird. It is the world before all of creation. What little information is given to us in this, you kind of have to piece together yourself. It's not explained to you very well, at least from how I was reading it. Maybe I glazed my eyes over reading a paragraph or something. But basically, the first world is what came before everything. And when it was destroyed, because it's definitely destroyed. They talk about it being destroyed, but they don't really say how or explain why it was destroyed. When it was destroyed, that's when all the other settings were created. So it would create the Forgotten Realm, it would create the Grey Hawk. Eberron is also created, though it's kind of in a little corner of the of space, just kind of doing its own thing. It's like if you were using the Spelljammer system, then it's off way like in the middle of nowhere. There's like hillbilly music playing the closer you get to it. Like it is as far away from anything as it can be. And so that's basically the first world. And what kind of comes from that is like the dragons were there. They were on the first world. When the first world was destroyed, it created these echoes of the dragons. So there might only be like so there's a red dragon that exists on every world, but it is the same red dragon that exists on each world. It's just echoes of the same red dragon, and it's I hated that. I'll put that up there. I don't need that in my life.
It's basically what Marvel's doing with their multiverse. It's yes, every universe has a Iron Man. Are they the same Iron Man? No, but they're very similar.
The only way I know how to appreciate what you're saying is I watched Into the Spider-Verse,
which is great,
about a year ago, so I kind of know what you're talking about. But otherwise, I don't really pay attention to Marvel movies. I to our listeners.
A lot of people are going to be like, "What?" But that's all right. So first world blows up. I assume it's a giant meteor that kills all the dinosaurs and sends
dragons.
And sends an image of each dragon to each universe. It takes physical form.
Dragon sight, whatever. And somehow the dragons can somehow know of each other's presence. But I mean, what happens if a dragon from, say, the Forgotten Realms travels via like the Spelljammer setting, arrives in Greyhawk and meets itself? Is it going to be like...
No, they just can't touch.
They can't touch or else that's the end of the universe?
Yes, black hole forms and everything goes in it and they die.
Well, now I know how I'm going to destroy everything that you...
Just do it on the other universe.
I don't know. It's kind of weird that way. And it's like, it talks about how they can kind of communicate across the various echoes / worlds and try and put certain things. Also, like, you can also kill one echo and then like the other echoes are fine. And so now, like, if you're trying to wipe out one dragon from the multiverse, you have to go to like every world and like kill the same dragon over and over.
Yeah, they should make it where the dragons get more powerful when you kill the other one. What was that Jet Li movie? There was a Jet Li movie that was that. One of the Jet Lis was going around to all the other universes and killing the other similar one, and he would gain more power. What the hell was that movie?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
It was a good movie, actually.
I don't really watch any Jet Li movies. They came out before I was born.
Oh, God. You're killing me.
I'm sorry. So that's kind of the new lore that's introduced for dragons. I don't really feel like it serves much of a purpose. Like, I understand what they're going for, like, and this kind of goes into the next thing that I kind of have an issue with this book. And, Chris, we can go into your list of grievances or pros, cons, whatever.
The one, just before we go any further. That was the Jelly movie. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a grievance.
Sure.
So the fluff in this book does a lot to reduce establishment. It now claims that there are only 2 dragon gods, Tiamat and Bahamut, and that every other draconic god, finger quotes, for those are merely dragons that have found other echoes of themselves and I guess like absorb them into their own form. And so they're not technically gods. They're just really powerful dragons. And I don't know.
So 5e just does what it does with everything. It just waters the lore down from previous editions, even though there wasn't a previous edition. It just takes the basic lore and says, we'll change it and make it simplified like we do everything in 5th edition.
Yeah, I mean, but it also kind of comes to the problem of, like, now there's no longer a dragon pantheon. It is 2 dragons. You're either with Bahamut or you're with Tiamat. And then Sith only deals with absolutes, so now all of the dragons are Siths.
So at least you watched the Star Wars
Of course it did.
stuff. Okay, great.
Only the prequels, though. You can't top them in terms of quality and story.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would argue with that, but whatever. I don't know. I was trying to think of an analogy today of how I felt about the book, and it's, well, my son came down today and he had his shirt on backwards. It's kind of, unfortunately, this is more of a common thing than I would like it to be. And it's kind of, I mean, I was thinking about the book. I'm like, all right, well, he got a shirt on. Great. But it's not right. You know, it's like, okay, he put it on, but he didn't pay any attention. He kind of half-assed it. And now I've got to be like, dude, fix that. It's like the book, the concept, the fact it's about dragons is great.
Yeah, I love dragons.
And then they fill half the book with tables and charts that you don't need. In the first 3 chapters, there's 27 different tables that relate to goals, relationships, flaws, and other bullshit. Yeah, I counted them. Don't go through it. I actually counted them. And it's filler.
I don't know. I mean, charts can be, I know a lot of people that love the charts in Xanathar's, like this story of you where you roll dice to randomly determine your backstory. I can see where...
Lazy. That's lazy. Yes, that'll be really loud when it comes through. Sorry.
I think I might have to disagree with you. Like, I don't mind charts. People like charts. Charts are easy. They allow you to kind of come up with more ideas than you might have.
They're filler.
Well, I think that's just going to be our disagreement.
Yeah, it is, because you're wrong, but that's okay.
I mean, if we want to stick with more flavor stuff in the book, is to, before we get into like the mechanics of the book, I'm more than happy to keep talking about.
No, I just, like everything else in 5e, I just wish there was more lore. I mean, everything used to be a huge story, and you'd read about it, and they would just make up random bullshit names with stuff. It's like, you know, Fizban, blah, 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 did this, did that, and, you know, it was crazy amounts. You don't have to do that much. It was a little too much, but...
So you're like the 2nd edition Monstrous Manual, where it's like every monster gets a full page of just like, here's their ecology, here's how they live, here's how they birth more of their species.
No, not that so much. But for the major characters, Tiamat, for example, is what? They give how much information on it? There's a ton of stuff they could put. I mean, you could write a whole book on, you know, the clash of the 2 dragon gods that only exist now, apparently. And they don't. Not a bad thing. I get it. You have to pick and choose what you're going to do. They added a lot of spells, a lot of stat blocks for new creatures, and I'm fine with that. I like all that stuff. But there was an opportunity to, I don't know, replace all those stupid tables that you roll a D8 on to determine what your goals are, what your personality traits are, and do a little more background. You know, is right or wrong? I don't know. According to you, people like tables and charts. Fine. I just like lore.
I mean, it's also an easier ask of a table than it is to read through like 3 paragraphs.
Fair enough.
And I mean, some people really enjoy reading along and getting deep into the minutia. Yeah. And then other people are like, I just want the spark. I'll just wait for the movie to come out. I mean,
that's the problem with your generation. You're lazy.
All right, that's our first time that's the problem with your generation.
Don't worry, there'll be more.
I can't wait. Actually, the last kind of thing I want to say about the lore is, sadly, they removed metal and steel dragons.
I don't get that. And they added the gem dragons back.
Yeah, I mean, metal and steel dragons are just metallic and silver dragons that stylize their scales to look like steel instead of like copper.
Fashion's an important thing in life.
Yeah, I don't know. I like steel dragons. They're kind of neat. Kind of going along with, like, it removed most dragon gods. Like, it's also removing a lot of set dragons that appeared in past Draconomicons. I really liked 4E's Draconomicon. There's actually two of them. One focused on chromatic, the other one was focused on metallic dragons. And like they would introduce like gems and metal dragons and things of that nature. I also like the second edition because it had the rust dragon, which
didn't they bring that back? I thought that was in
that's in third edition, yeah. And,
okay, yeah, that's right.
Well, and spoilers, it appears in our adventure for the Gangs of Farum that is on our store.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I like rust dragons. Well, they're like the metamorphosis of rust monsters, and
that's
so
right.
It's like
that's right.
They spin like a little rusty cocoon, and then they hatch. It's this beautiful kind of.
No, I could go into like a whole tirade about how they neutered creatures like that, like the rust monster and gelatinous cube, but I won't. You know,
okay.
They want players to live now. I mean, what the hell is that? I love the fact that it's roll if you don't make your save versus whatever, you die.
You know, when I kill your character, you're not also nonchalant about it.
You can't kill my character.
You've
killed one, and that was my own fault. I did stupid shit.
Yes. And then you purposely retired one because of stupid shit you did.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was I've been apologizing for that for a long time.
Well,
all right. So I had one major issue with I had two major issues with the book, and they're kind of minor. I mean, again, I think the book is good. I think that it could be better, but then again, can't everything? So the first is, I mean, this is pretty detailed. If you're on page 55, it details, it's basically for the DM, and it's basically dragon is a monster. It tells you how, it's the beginning of how to play a dragon if you're a monster. And even though I took notes, I got to go to.
Yep. Well, it's a decent artwork for it.
Yeah, we'll get into the art in a second. I actually kind of liked it. It got bashed, but...
I can't wait to talk about the artwork.
So, dragon is a monster. The first paragraph says, for all their vast power, great intellect, and range of possible motivations, dragons are awful simple creatures at heart. What? Because then it goes on to... on the next page, talk about, I mean, it makes them sound like, oh, they don't really care. They just want to eat, and I think they say eat something else and get treasure. I get it. But then they go on and they're talking about the dragon as a schemer. The dragon is power. You know, they have all these things that contradict what they just said. They're not simple creatures. They want to take over the world. They're doing all sorts of crazy shit. That's not simple. It just seemed like it was like, what? Why would you call them simple creatures? They are glorious creatures that do
complicated
wacky shit.
Plan,
right.
Stratagems and all that types.
I mean, they don't just want to eat. I just, I read that. I'm like, what? That's silly. I mean, and I know it's minor, but it threw me off. And it, I don't know. That one section for Dragon Adventures, that
just kind of soured that for you?
It soured that section for me. It did. I didn't mind the stuff on, the one world, and, that's lore. I like that bullshit. But that I was just like, why would you say that they are simple? And maybe I'm missing something, but when they say they just want food, a secure lair, and treasure, hell no. That's not what they're doing. I mean,
they want power.
Yeah, they're manipulating governments. They're, they're trying to topple empires. That's what they do. They're fucking dragons, man.
Yeah, power hungry.
Yeah.
Like me. Soon I'll conquer the world. Oh, what?
You haven't fired me yet?
We can always go back to flavor at the end of all this because I still have a few paragraphs left. But let's look at some of the mechanics. So for our players who might be interested in, there is some information about creating a Gem Dragonborn. That's the only new race available option. And then there's two subclasses for the Monk, Way of the Ascendant Dragon, and then the Ranger gets Drake Warden.
Well, they were UA. We've used
they're part of the Unearthed Arcana, but there are some changes. Notably, the Monk got worse, like usual. The Drake Warden stayed about the same power-wise, but the Monk one had some increase in key cost, reduced abilities, that kind of thing, which... actually, I have a player that's playing that Monk subclass, and I was like, well, we have like a dozen or so sessions left in this campaign. You can keep playing the UA one because he was kind of sad about what was in the book, and I was just like, it's fine.
Well, I mean, that's stereotypical of UA. They make them powerful, and they are like, oh crap, and they water them down. I mean, it makes sense. That's how you get people interested in playing it.
Yeah, and then there's a couple of draconic feats. I think like 3 or 4 of them.
Yep.
And then after that, we then get into spells, magic items, and then horde items and draconic. So this is in chapter 2. The spells are going to be something more that players are going to get, but it's only 7 of them. There's only 7 new dragon kind of focused spells, so there isn't a whole lot to kind of sink your teeth into. There's a couple of names I don't actually recognize. I don't know if you do, but like a Chardalon, Nathirs, Rolathum, and then Rhyme. These are kind of new names to me. I think that they're more prevalent Dragonlance, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I have no idea.
And then there's a couple of pages of magic items, but again, that's kind of more of a GM perspective, just because GMs control what magic items you get.
No, that players are into that too, because then they go and whine to the DM that they want this.
There's horde touch things, which is basically the horde items I found very interesting, because they are magic items that get stronger the more powerful a horde you kind of take from a dragon or you find the magic item in. And so they have 4 different qualities: slumbering, stirring, wakened, and ascendant. And they go in strength based off of that. So it's one item, but it has 4 different kind of powers associated with it. And so long as you can find a dragon willing to allow you to soak your magic item in their horde, or you kill the dragon and take their horde from them and soak your magic item in that, then you can get a stronger and stronger item, which would be really cool to like give to someone in your group who's like a dragon hunter, and like over the course of the campaign, especially if you're doing like level 1 to 20, like they get a chance to get a more powerful item. Of course, the other people at the table might be plotting to kill them and steal their magic item, but that's how things
friends
go.
At a table. Well, I mean, it's a tweak on, and I know you refuse to read the book, but it's a tweak on the items in Matt Mercer's world.
Yeah,
the
vestiges
similar
thing, where they can unlock. Yeah, I've seen a couple of different items like that kind of grow in power with you. I just thought it was neat that they incorporated that with like Dragon Horde things. Of course, it seemed a little, I don't know if it's specified and I just missed it, but like, how long does it take for the magic item to soak up the horde magic? Maybe a long rest, maybe an hour, maybe a dozen years.
Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, it's one of those things that I like it. I've always thought that magic items should be something you could
I just changed
increase.
the page. It says 1 year. So it's not really something an adventurer is going to get to do.
Yeah.
I take back every nice thing about it.
Well, I mean, I get it. I've always thought that, beyond being able to put when Pathfinder does this, where you have a sword, you can throw a gem in a slot, a potency crystal, and give it some more power. I've always thought there should be a way in D&D that you could take a magic item and maybe combine it with something else to make it a new item that has a combination of both powers, a little more powerful.
Yeah.
And you'd have to have, you could make some sort of, I don't know, class or NPC class you'd have to go. And it would cost money and it would take time, but eventually you'd be like, hey, cool, I got a new item.
I hate the fact you just said NPC class.
Well, you know what I mean. But
no, I got you. Actually, I just read a paragraph further down, and they're encouraging murder hoboing, as it specifically states, if you kill a dragon, you can soak the item in the horde for 8 hours as the horde magic becomes more volatile to increase the power of your weapon.
I'm so glad they've finally gotten in touch with what players really are.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm. What about gifts? Draconic gifts? Do you have any thoughts on, you can get a draconic familiar.
Yeah, I mean, these are cool. Some of them are on the same kind of level as some minor boons that are present in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and then some of them are a little weaker than that, and so they're all kind of cool. And also, it allows the DM to award players who are working with the dragon, while they might prefer getting a dragon horde. If they do work with the dragon, they do get some minor gifts, which is it's interesting. Like, one of them is you get a frightful presence, which as a bonus action you can manifest your frightful presence, then make a wisdom save, against your charisma plus proficiency plus 8, and then they're frightened of you. And so, like, it's neat. It's every creature with 120 feet. It's a neat little beast, but
yeah. Well, I mean, they're
it makes the barbarian berserker ability, which is like an action to frighten a single creature, to be like complete crap. But
yeah, I mean,
that's the poor berserker barbarian who gets no love.
Well, yeah, who plays him?
I have a player playing.
Is that your other group? They're lame.
Yeah, my favorite Wednesday group.
Yeah, I know. That's why I always say they're lame. I don't know any of the people. I'm sure they're really cool. Let's talk about hordes for a second. The dragon horde. Yeah, yeah, they give you more information on how to build a horde. Yeah, it's basically a tweaked version of the...
You could spend an entire hour and still not be done building one of their hordes based off of their dice rolls.
Yeah. I mean, you mean tables that you have to roll on? But
there's good tables and there's bad tables, Chris. Don't come at me with that energy.
What? I mean, this whole splitting the horde thing? What? That's ridiculous. No dragons. All right, first, you can have multiple hordes because the dragon has multiple layers. No, I'm sorry.
I would diversify if I was a dragon.
I just moved to a bigger house. I mean, come on. Oh shit, I've got too much stuff. You move to a bigger house.
You kill some dwarves, you take their underground city.
Exactly. You're a fucking dragon.
They can't stop you. I mean, action economy, not present during these interactions. They can't stop you.
I did not like that part. I didn't think it was realistic. I think if you're an ancient dragon, yeah, you're taking over a fucking castle and you've got a massive horde and you're proud of it. You're not going to have, what do you have to go visit the other half of your horde? No. I mean, you're like, oh, I miss half my horde.
I think this is more of a social commentary on people who own multiple homes. It's like, what do you have multiple hordes? I mean, homes for? Why do you have a beach horde and a city horde?
I'm not that rich.
Of course wasn't talking about you, Chris.
I have one house.
Oh, okay. But, maybe it's a social commentary on them, because isn't that really what dragons kind of come down to, is they're a social commentary on the rich and wealthy. They are the ones who accumulate wealth, and it's up to us to kill them.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what
away from you.
Chris, come here. Check out this new knife I got. In addition to hordes, there's also horde curses.
I like those.
Of course you do. Anything that screws over players, which...
I'm a player.
It is very strange. Anything that can cause you more strife in your life, you love.
It's because it's flavor. It shouldn't all be good for us. It's like, we're mighty warriors. Yeah, we're mighty warriors, but we should overcome something.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind next time you're complaining when...
I'm sure you will.
Something cuts off your arm or something.
Ow. No, it doesn't have to be me. There's plenty of other people in the party. They can overcome it. I'll help them.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay.
So long as it hurts someone else, you're fine with it.
It can hurt me, but I just want like one of the ones I have a scar. Oh no, my beautiful face. Yeah, you've lost a foot. That should be interesting.
But yeah, and I mean, I just complained a couple of seconds ago about the creating the horde thing, where it would take you forever to figure out what's in a horde based off of their like random roll type things. They do offer a section of like horde mundane items. One of the weird ones is a hogshead containing 65 gallons of clean water.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's cool, but the players are going to be like, okay, and then carry on from there. Or they might be like,
thirsty.
Can I empty that out and use it as my own cask? Cool. And I now have a hogshead. Like, some people might be really excited about that. Other people are just going to be like...
So it's a hogs? Like a... What?
It acts as a large cask, and it contains 65 gallons of clean drinking water. I'm not so sure if it's been in a hogshead that it is clean drinking water at that point.
Yeah, how many idiot players are going to use that as a... They're going to put it on like a mask. Look at me, I'm a giant hog.
There's also a stuffed monstrosity appropriate to the local terrain. I don't know. That feels a little too cutesy to me. There's a couple of things in here where it's just like, it's a little cute.
People,
it's for different groups. There are some groups who really love cutesy kind.
No, we're not that group.
I'm not that person.
Yeah. So I'm moving forward here.
Of course.
I'm skipping reproduction. I'm not even going to go there.
But that's my favorite part, Chris.
Mm-hmm. They have goals for dragons at different ages. I find that a little silly until you get to adult. Maybe, and even only ancient dragons. When you're a young dragon, you're like, yes, I want to make it to adulthood. Yeah, I don't want to die. I want a bigger horde.
That's something we can all agree on.
Yeah, I want a bigger horde. Great. You're an adult dragon. You're like, I want to be old and powerful and a bigger horde. When you get to be an ancient dragon, you're like, I want to take over the world.
Yeah, you really can start diversifying kind of what is your focus at that point.
Yeah, so there was that, and then this is gonna be the bad part. I think we'll both agree on this. Then there's Death of a Dragon.
What page are you on?
I'm on 40 now.
Okay, so we actually went back a couple.
Yeah, so
I'm just trying to follow your scattered thoughts.
As you should.
Well,
Wait,
I
so
mean, do we want to save this? Because we're also going to talk about our Dracolich deep dive. Do we want to save that for the last part of our podcast?
Okay, that's fine. I just want to point out.
We'll put a pin in that.
Yeah, I want to read one thing from the beginning of Death of a Dragon. They have the little things where, Fizban says stuff that are in his journal or whatever. And it says, when I go, this is talking about his death. When I go, I dream of passing my spirit into that with which I have had the most profound experiences. The first thing that comes to mind is a caramel treacle from the Foxy Duck Tavern. Yum. What? I just wanted to read that.
I'm so glad you're giving me an excuse to talk about this.
Do you want to talk about now?
I want to talk about all of Fizban memo type thing. It is pretty awful, in my opinion. Like,
No, I'll take the word pretty out of it, and I'll just go, it's awful.
It's everywhere throughout this book, and it's they've had these kind of like memo things, even like in like the monster, but those ones were more serious. They took the subject matter a bit more serious. Ever since Xanathars, I want to say, like, they've been trying to put jokes, like they're trying to stuff as many jokes into these books as they can, and this is not like a comedy book. This is not a comedy role. And, of course, you can have a couple of jokes here and there. I'm not trying to be like, no, you must be serious all the time. But these are constant, like, childish jokes. Even in Tasha's, where it's just like, oh, I'm better than everyone. Ha ha ha. And, like, Xanathar's also is just like, oh, you're so stupid looking. I am better than you. It's just these constant petty jokes that don't really land. It's kind of like how Marvel movies try to shove as many jokes as they can instead of treating serious subjects seriously. The designers are too afraid to allow their audience to feel any other emotion except for light amounts of humor. And it's just something that's been continuing to permeate throughout the book. I just feel like they're taking the subject matter too jokey in those memos and trying to be funny and clever, and a lot of it just falls.
Yes, whimsical does not work for me. We're talking about dragons.
Of
it's
course,
a serious subject.
I've just said all of that. And if you look on page 41, there is actually one that I appreciate, which is, I've never met a creature I didn't love, but I have met a few I didn't want alive. Like, that's not like a... What? Trying to be cute. I don't know. Maybe it is trying to be cute and I'm being a hypocrite, but it's just too many jokes permeated throughout this book, and it just felt like they were too scared to be completely...
Shall we get into each type of dragons and then...
Yeah, let's go ahead and start looking at next chapter. Chapter 5, Draconomicon, and then chapter 6, which is the Bestie. These take up the kind of the Dragon's Horde, if you will, of the book. From pages 75 to 224. So you're looking at a good 150-ish pages of stat blocks as well as layers. As well as, and like chapter 5 is a lot of like, it's layers for dragons as well as kind of motivations and things of that nature for each kind of specific type of them.
And it's an utter waste of space.
I don't know that it's, I wouldn't call it an utter waste of space. There's a lot of sections in here that I think could have been like cold. And then we could have had more player-focused kind of things. Like we could have had more than 7 dragon-flavored spells. We could have had more than just, oh, here's a Drim Dragonborn supper. Like they could have done a little bit more with that and reduced some of this needless fluff.
Yeah. I mean, each dragon has a chart on personality traits, ideals, adventure hooks, connection. I'm like, who gives a shit?
I think it can help people. I mean, at least like the connections like allows you to understand like who might populate this dragon horde. It's not just the dragon in its air. There are other creatures.
Yeah, but you could put that as a blurb in the description of each of the dragons, like they used to do in, was that 3.5, where they would just say, along with this creature, you can find 1 to 6 whatever.
Oh, like, yeah, like even like the 4E monster manual, it would say like encounter level like 16 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like this monster, 2 of this type of monster, and then 3 of these monsters makes this type of encounter. And yeah, like I agree, like that would have been
freed up some space.
A little bit more interesting. This one's a little bit more flavored because it gives you a reason why those monsters might be with that dragon, though it's a little loose for different ones, or like not really that exciting for other ones. Like a violet fairy dragon is the playmate and guardian of an amethyst dragon worm.
Yay.
I mean, that's it's cutesy. We already talked about that.
Yeah. I mean, so, yeah, fine.
I do like that there are maps for a lot of the dragon layers. Unfortunately, not all of them get maps for their layers.
Yeah, I found that weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like showing favoritism, I guess. Like, all of the chromatic and metallic ones get a layer shown for them, I believe. The gem dragons get... a couple of them get layer maps, and then the ones that don't actually, several of the gym ones don't, and then like Moonstone Dragon, nope. Dragon Turtle doesn't get one.
Don't.
Oh, we're not talking about Dragon Turtle?
We're not. I refuse to speak about them.
Really? Weird. You mean the fact where they make a joke about how Tiamat swears she didn't make them and Fizban swears he didn't make them, so where did they come from? And it's just a bad joke to be bad?
Fucking hate dragon turtles. Nope.
Oh, you just don't like dragon turtles because you feel like one is constantly hunting you across our various campaigns.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure it is because they always appear. Anyways, yeah. I mean, I think that the maps for the primary dragons, I guess we'll call them the classic dragons, makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I like them.
I would have had them all for the new ones because everyone's already killed a red dragon.
And that's exactly what I was going to say.
But I guess everyone's killed a red dragon because everyone loves fighting. Or like that's like the iconic dragon.
Well, yeah. They love all creatures. They just don't want some of them alive. I mean... Yeah,
they're all drawn by Dyson Logos. His maps are okay. I prefer Mike Sheely, who has done... like, Dyson Logos is kind of like a Hatchwork maps. They're very simple. They kind of make me think of like old school D&D, AD, whereas like Mike Shelley is like the full color art, which I appreciate, like Dyson Logos, because I want to show these maps. I don't have a strong interest in showing you a Dyson Logos map. Like, this is like GM facing maps, not GM and player.
Right. I mean, everybody loves maps. I mean, it's a big trendy thing. If you look on, if you're on Reddit, I mean, everyone's drawing maps. Everybody loves maps. I get why they put them in there. I think they're good. I think they're a good starting point. Again, I would have reversed it. I wouldn't have put the layers in the map, for the existing dragons. I would have done it for the new dragons. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been a little more interesting that way, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, like, the deep dragon doesn't get it. That's a new dragon. I would have loved to see what they envision for its lair. Gold dragon gets a map. All right, well, we already know what gold dragon are. Like, it's kind of old news at this point, but I understand why they did it. Is because people are excited about the old classic dragons, not necessarily the new ones. So if you're going to put art there, then...
Right. No, and I understand that. I mean, I personally would have preferred it the other way around.
And like this part of it, like I might use the maps for like inspiration, but there isn't a huge amount in this section that I'm going to go back to over and over. Oh, I just found out who Rhyme is. Page 157, there's a short subsection about her. I forgot about that part of the book. So like... All right, so... It's cool. It's fine.
Each of the layers... they have features. Weird. They call them features in one place, and then maybe I'm mistaken. I don't want to go anywhere near the dragon turtle. Anyways,
it can't hurt you. It's just in your imagination.
It can. Oh, there's a crystal dragon layer.
Yeah, there's a couple of gym ones that get maps, but not.
Yeah. So they have features which are nice for the maps. The thing I find odd is every dragon for the treasures, the only table you get are art object? What? Yes, because I'm excited to carry around an oversized monocle custom made for the crystal dragon who thinks it looks stylish. What? Who gives a shit?
That's cute.
Why? What? Who decided that was a great idea?
I would have preferred to have seen like custom magic items for each dragon that you might like this magic item. Well, it's not in the magic item section. This magic item
is unique to that dragon.
Yeah, or like something that you could harvest off of dragon. How many times do you hear players like, can we harvest something off of them? Like, if I make a survival check, can I get, like, a tooth and turn into a dagger? Like, that would have been cool if you had done it something, like, instead of art objects, instead it's, what can you salvage from a dragon? And what weird magic items could you make from them? Or what, like, if you gather up a bunch of scales, how many scales do you need? Or, like, to make...
Armor.
Yeah, armor from them to make the dragon scale armor that I think is in the dungeon.
Yeah, everybody loves cutting things open after they're dead. What can I pull out to make potions? You know, what are ingredients for that?
That would have been a more useful spot for that. The art objects they're there.
Yep, they're stupid.
You know what? Let's jump over to the next chapter, the bestiary or bestiary. I'm gonna call it the bestiary.
I'm gonna call it the section that has the stat blocks in it. How's that?
This is my favorite section in any book is stat blocks. There's some interesting things, and also we get to see the new direction that they're taking stat blocks in. And so we can see kind of the new direction that they're taking stat blocks in. Like alignment now says typically neutral. I know for like the Spoopy book, I can't remember Van Richten's book, like they had removed all alignments and now alignments are back, and now they just put typically in front of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think alignment's a part of the game that you have to keep. We argue about this all the time.
I like assigning alignment to monsters, but I also never felt like I was beholden to those. But I feel like from like online discussions, a lot of people kind of felt beholden to it.
No, that's players. Players like, I'm playing a neutral character. Well, I should not do this because it is I don't know. It's basically an overarching philosophy on how you look at life, but every situation changes and your alignment is flexible, can change through the game. You join a party that does good things. Well, maybe you're pure neutral. Maybe you're now neutral good.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
Be awful for the druid.
Yeah. So, I do like the fact that the spell casting is all based in psionics.
For the gemstone dragons. Yeah, they're all psionics.
I like that.
I want psionics to be a separate system. I know it's never going to happen. I know my idea of what psionics should be like is like unique from like spells and magic, because psionics is unique. It's not just I can cast with my mind. I can cast spells with my mind. It's you can use your mind to do different things that other people can't.
2 copies of the 1E Dungeon Master Guide if you'd like to have your own unique system on it, because it is a clusterfuck of epic proportions.
Would you say you need psionics to understand psionics?
Dude, you have to read it. If you have a chance.
I've read through it. It's weird. It's crazy. We're talking about 5e, Chris. We're not talking about 1e and its bullshit. Yeah,
Gygax was tripping balls when he wrote that. Anyways, so I thought that was neat. What? Draco Hydra.
Yeah,
right.
And like this chapter includes a lot of new stat blocks, which I'm excited about. Now it's not going to be like a monster manual level. Actually, I think it's a little bit less than what was in Volo's. I haven't counted the number of stat blocks, but glancing at it, it seems like there's less stat blocks here than what was in like Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, or Volo's Guide to Everything. They really like the word everything.
Yeah, they do. Well, it's close. It's not... I think you're right.
It's not as much, but there's still a lot of stat blocks.
Yeah, well, and I guess overall, you could say that it's probably not as much, because you get a separate stat block for each, age of a dragon, which is good, which you need, but you can make it a much easier build.
Well, except if you flip over to 168 with the Chromatic Great Worm, which is a single stat block that is to represent every single chromatic dragon as a Great Worm, which is a more powerful version than Ancient. It is just you choose the damage based off of the Ancient dragon or the Great Worm colored dragon it's supposed to be, and you just use this one stat block for all of them, which I understand why they did it, but I think it also shows how ununique the dragon stat blocks are from each other, and how they're all just kind of a pile of hit points that can breathe fire. That's all that's special about them.
Yeah, it's sort of like you could just say, okay, when you're this age you have this, and when you age up you gain X, Y, and Z, and it could be a lot simpler. Yep. I think it's a little bit of filler, but I don't know. It's always been that way, and I understand why they did it.
For this edition. For 4E, though, each dragon was very, very different from each other. They all had kind of their own things. You couldn't just have a this is what they all look like. This is how they all operate. Like, because they each had their own unique way of interacting in it.
Right.
Now, you can say plenty of negative things about 4E. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I feel like 4E really took the idea of stat blocks and reimagined what they could be. They are not just a sack of hits. They're not just a monster for the players to beat. They are living creatures that have their own moving.
Well, that's because 4E was a throwback to 1E and 2E, and people didn't like it because it was complicated.
I would not say that at all.
Who wrote it again? Who was the genius mind behind 4E? Was it Merles?
No, Mike Merles wrote some of it, but no, he wasn't part of it. He wasn't a major part of it.
He had some influence, I think, because he's an old-time, angry old person.
I mean, he was also on there for, I believe, 3E, so...
Yeah. Well, but then 3 was...
I guess I'm really misunderstanding how you think 1E and 2E are.
I think that 4E was trying to expand on the game where it had, to the point where it reminds me of 1E. There was just so much craziness. It was so crunchy that...
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was some... 5E has crunch. So they just hide it behind.
Yeah.
And then try to say it's a lightweight.
Right. And I understand why they did that. The appeal of 5E and the reason D&D has exploded is 5E is been simplified so the masses can play that. And I am so happy they did it.
I mean, the masses can play 3E and 4E. I think people...
Yeah, but you have to spend more time because your generation's lazy. There's number 2.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't know. I think people think other people are not as intelligent as they actually are, because everyone's like, well, like, we need the champion fighter because how else will newbies know how to play this game? It's like, no. Newbies never go like, I'm just going to play a fighter. Like, newbies are always like, ooh, I want to be a wizard. I want to like cast spells. I want to do things I can't do with my normal body. Like, and of course there are.
That's why everybody plays a monk.
There are people who play fighters. Like, when my first character was a fighter, who I tried to get killed multiple times. Never happened. I should just tell the GM I'm not feeling it because it's boring.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's people are not as incompetent or whatever. It's more or less up to their teacher how much they're going to be able to.
And I hope how I'm trying. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not explaining it right, and I understand what you're saying. People aren't stupid. If you're going to play the game, you want to kind of dive in, especially players. They're going to want to see what cool stuff they can do, right? So that's going to require some reading and some crunch. I get it. But the game has transitioned from a combat-based game, which requires a lot more crunch.
Dungeon diving.
Right. And requires you to do more rolling, do a lot more, like I said, crunchy things. First now where it's role play. So yeah, you have encounters and combat, but it's not as prevalent, so you just don't need as much information. It's role playing, it's acting, and I enjoy it. That's what
people are trying to shove onto 5e is a more narrative system. It's not a narrative system at all. There are no rules for social encounters. It's just, hey, here's some DCs. You can roll a persuasion check, and if you hit the DC, you get to persuade them to your side.
And then here's
pages of combat. Here's all the special abilities your character gets that are largely combat focused. It is still a very combat centric game, but people are trying to turn it into a more narrative focused game, which is actually, I'm going off on a tangent, 5.5 or 6e or whatever you want to call it that's coming up. D&D next. I wonder if they're going to be offering more narrative focused tools to GMs or more social abilities to players, along with a set of like social encounter rules that people can try and beef up that part of the system, because right now it's incredibly lacking.
Well, you don't think that the giving them personality traits and ideals plays into the role-playing aspect of it?
No, I mean, there's always been role-playing in this game. I'm not trying to deny that, but the role-playing exists alongside the combat. That has nothing to do with it being a narrative-focused game. A narrative-focused game has rules and mechanics for the narrative. Like, there's an RPG, I can't remember what it is, but like the way you push the narrative forward is you have a deck of like I think like tarot cards, and you throw that out there.
That game? I know what you're talking about. No,
it's from like the 90s, and then like the GM then takes that narrative card and then explains how it works into the system, or how it works into the narrative that you are forming the table. And so 5e has nothing that pushes the narrative except for the players, and it has no mechanics to help push that.
Sure.
I think we're using different words. Like in my mind, narrative focused game means that there are mechanics to help push forward the narrative. That there are like the system is built more as storytelling, whereas you're saying like role playing has been a part of it. Role playing doesn't require any roles. Role playing is what a player feels like acting up in a game. How they present to be as actors.
I guess so. I mean, I don't know, but I have the better word.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, anyways.
I mean, yeah. Going back to
let's go back to
the bestiary.
So draconians as monsters.
Hey, draconians are fun. Dragonlance. I'm excited to see draconians. I'm excited to see a little bit more Dragonlance stuff. Maybe we'll get a Dragonlance campaign setting.
Go.
Probably not going to happen because a lot of people find it a generic, boring system. But that's okay. I love dragons, so
fuck them. Greyhawk. Greyhawk.
It's never going to happen, dude.
But what do we both want? The one that we both want, and I think we can agree on, is Spelljammer.
Yes. I would love for Spelljammers or a book entirely focused on like the monsters and lore of the Feywild or the monsters and lore of the Shadowfell. I mean, we got the one adventure for like Witchlight by the Fireplace, something.
Yeah, I'm not wasting my money on that book.
And also like we have Van Richten's Domains of Dread, and technically the Domains of Dread exist within the Shadowfell, but like it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some...
You're looking for the 3.5 books that, everything has a book. And there's a book on Faerun, a total book on Faerun. It's like 150 pages.
Yeah, well, I'm looking for the 4E, like... Or actually, I mean, this book appeared everywhere. The Manual Planes appeared in every single edition. I'm looking for...
well, you basically wrote a Manual of Planes on the site.
Yeah. And like 4E also had like a Gloomrot and the City Beyond. Or no, Gloomrot and the City of Gloomrot and the Shadowfell Beyond, which is all about the Shadowfell with a focus on the Gloomrot city. But I would love something for like the City of Brass located in Lane Fires. I would love for something Feywild. There's... well,
you wrote all about
Solentria, I think, is a city in Feywild. I can't pronounce it correctly because I don't speak gibberish that well, but like that's what I'm looking for.
All right.
Again, another tangent.
Dragon Blood Ooze. No, I'm not down with that. Kind of neat, but
yeah. There's a lot of neat creatures.
Golem.
Hey, the Dragonbone Golems back. I like them. They're from I think 4E.
Mm-hmm. I mean the Dragonborn of Tiamat and so on and so forth. Each one has one. I mean, I think that's neat. But what I don't get is all of a sudden they add a third dragon.
What page?
It's let's see, 184. Sardor. He lives within every gem dragon.
I guess this is the divine god of gem dragon. I mean, well, we got Tiamat, which is chromatic, and we got Bahamut, which is chromatic, so we need the gem dragon nonsense.
Yeah, but he doesn't appear really anywhere else.
Well, and he's also not technically a god anymore because there's only Bahamut and
yeah, I find that strange.
Actually, I think it's because they were like Sardir got destroyed in the First World.
Yep. Then there's followers, the Dragonel, which is kind of stupid. Just make the Wyvern a little better, or maybe I don't know. It's meh.
I would have liked a relook at the Drake from the past editions.
There you go.
Like the Drakes in 5e are wingless, kind of more lizard monster than anything else. Whereas the Drakes from past editions were like mini dragons, or maybe more like wyvern or wyverns or whatever, however you want to pronounce it. Like they were. I don't know. They felt more dragon-like, whereas these ones are like, they're guard dogs.
Yeah, they're iguanas.
Lizards.
They're big-ass iguanas.
Komodo dragons.
Yes. And then there's dragon turtle. Whatever. That's such bullshit. They're fucking turtles. Although in the artwork for that one on 192 is terrifying. It's like, I think that's probably the best art in the entire book. It reminds me of Godzilla movies, and none of that's good.
Oh no, that's I thought that. No, they did use the artwork from Tomb of Annihilation, Dragon Turtle.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, there's some cool things. Actually, while we're talking about stat blocks or the artwork for stat blocks, a lot of the art is great except for the gem dragons. I hate the gem dragon artwork. It is kind of weirdly proportioned. Like I'm sorry to the artist. Like you're obviously talented, but I can't stand what some of these gem dragons look like. I'm going to flip quickly over to if you look at page 172 with the crystal dragon, and the some of the dragon artwork will be in the show notes.
Yep.
If you look at like the crystal dragon, it has some sort of weird gullet bulge on its throat. like a frog. It's
I don't know.
grotesque. There's the Amethyst Dragon, 162. It looks normally proportioned, kind of looks like Godzilla a little bit, except its tail is weirdly flat, fat, and kind of gross. It kind of looks like something's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like it got like stepped on by like a huge Godzilla creature, and it just kind of
I
looked
like
like that.
I like most of the art in the book. I mean, like, there's always going to be weird stuff. I mean, if you go to 207, the Lion Drake. What? Number one, I got an issue with the creature. Number two, the picture is like, okay.
Yeah, I don't actually know anything about the Lion Drake. I don't know if it appeared in earlier editions, but it's definitely a choice.
Yeah, I don't remember it all. You know, and honestly, the dragon stat blocks are good, but I actually like the stat blocks for the weirds, like the things that are non-dragon. The Horde Mimic, cool. Throw that in the Horde. You know, the players are like, yeah, oh yay, we killed a dragon. Yeah, it's not over yet. Scarab, you know, there's the dragon followers. There's there's a bunch of different things I think that are cool.
Yeah, and I should say, like, the Emerald Dragon looks cool. Actually, my favorite piece of artwork in this is 194, the Elder Brain Dragon. I don't know. I guess I just like weird, creepy shit, but, like, that one is fantastic. It's basically just a dragon that's been overtaken by an Elder Brain. And so it's like this grotesque mind flayer, Lovecraftian.
All right, I should have known that would be.
Well, I'm very simple. I see Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah. So... all right, so that's a good hour of talking about the book with just a few tangents, but let's talk about what the book's missing, which annoys, I think, both of us a lot. The Draco.
Yeah.
If the dragon turtle's gonna get one, yes, I get it. It's not, is it a dragon? Is it a dragon combined with a lich, hence the name? Yeah. How about dragon turtle? It's a fucking turtle combined with a dragon, yet it gets all this love. That's bullshit. Yes, there's 3 new undead dragons. I don't care about a ghost dragon.
Wow.
Anyways.
I mean, I agree. Like, well, the Draco Lich in this edition has just been narrated down to a template that you throw onto a dragon. Mm-hmm. It's a little sad. I mean, we just did a deep dive on the Draco Lich, which was a fun kind of look through its history. It is actually really a little bit more of an interesting monster than I originally thought it was going to be. When it got one, I was like,
yeah, you're like, yeah.
Why are we doing a dead dragon before we do a red dragon? Why didn't we already talk about liches? But like, yeah, like the Draco Lich was a more interesting creature. I understand why they had it as a template for this edition because it makes the most sense because it can be any type of dragon. But yeah, it would have been cool if we would have seen like an elder Draco Lich kind of like wizard, but like divorce it from any other of the like chromatic or metallic dragon stat blocks and just give it its own unique ability.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually, I mean, if you wanted to, again, I understand, like you said, why they did it as a template. But they have fucking stat blocks for all this other craziness. Why not add it on as a Draco Lich red dragon then? You know, if you're just in doing that and give it unique abilities for the Draco Lich, but incorporate spells or whatever and add new spells in like they do for all the other ages of a dragon. You know, I mean, it could just be an optional stat block. Not every dragon's going to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to die. I'm going to become a Draco Lich, or I'm going to go through some crazy process of hiding my soul in a gem. Sure. But everything else gets, their own stat block, so why not? You could do some cool stuff with it.
You think maybe the Draco Lich just didn't hit the cool factor enough throughout the edition? It's just kind of...
Yeah, well, according to our Patreon poll, it was pretty popular. I got a lot more votes than the next thing in line. That might have been what I put in there, but hey.
I don't know. The Draco Lich is a cool creature. I always like undead creatures. I like aberration, that type stuff. So,
well, you had one in our first campaign, right?
Yeah, there was a partial Draco Lich.
Yeah, he had a cult of worshipping kobolds.
Oh yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
You know, without talking anymore about the book, like, what are your final thoughts on it? Do you think this is a good book for players, for DMs? Do you think this is a book everyone should go out and get? What's going through your mind?
I would ask for it for Christmas, but I wouldn't spend my money on it. For $50, maybe not, but, you know, I'd be like, yeah, I'd like it, so Christmas gift. Yeah. You know, I think that it has some cool stuff in it, but the price point doesn't justify what you get.
So for players, I would just tell them go on D&D Beyond. Even if you don't normally use D&D Beyond, if there really is something you want there, just like buy it there, spend a couple of bucks, grab that one thing you want. There's no point in you buying this entire book. You're going to use 9 to 15 pages of it, if that. The rest of it, it's going to be DM facing, and really, I don't really feel like should be player knowledge, because a lot of it's like stat blocks or things you might find in a layer that's may never come up.
Are you saying that players metagame? What are you?
What? No, I would never, Chris. But DMs, I can more likely say get it, but only if you really love dragons and want to incorporate them more into your campaigns. And I don't know. I would just say go on D&D Beyond and buy the stat blocks, and not buy this book unless you are really wanting to do a lot of work with dragon. Like if you're doing a campaign focused entirely on like dragon hunting or being dragon slayers, or your world, like your campaign setting is very influenced by dragons, then this might be a book worth picking up. But I can't really, like, good conscience be like, every GM, like, who wants to run a dragon encounter or something should pick up this book, because a lot of it's just not really information you ever need. Like, I'm not going to use 75-80% of what's in here just because I don't care for their direction with the lore, just as I don't really need to know what art objects are in an young emerald wormling dragon's lair, because I know my table's not going to care about a hogshead filled with water. That's
that
just...
monocle is pretty badass, though.
Oh, yeah. That monocle that only is sized for that dragon and no one else can use it, yeah. I mean, at least you could sell it for 100 gold, if that. And so, if you are really diehard for dragons, you love dragons and really want to incorporate them as much as possible into your campaign, this might be a good book for you. If you're just like, I'm just interested in some new stat blocks I can throw, just go on D&D Beyond and buy them there. Even if you never use that resource, like, it's cheaper if you just spend, I think, like 10 or 15 bucks on the stat blocks.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about it.
Yep. Feel kind of the same way I feel about Volos or
I mean, at least Volos was half a bestiary, and I love that part of it.
Right, and that's kind of how I feel about this book. I wish that they would just, if they want to do, they should split it into two. Do a lore book. If you want to do Volos and all that kind of stuff in there, do a book on that, and then just give us a monster manual too. And put all the monsters that they've been putting in all the other books and combine it into one book, so I don't have to spend money on 3 or 4 different books.
I would love a second monster manual. You're a preacher to the choir for me. I would, I mean,
what, 3 had
Jeremy
had
Crawford,
5?
If you need someone dead, just let me know, and I'll you know my price.
Yeah. I mean, it's, every other edition had at least 2. Yeah. I mean, like, one he had a Monster Manual 1, a Monster Manual 2, and a Fiend Folio.
Yeah, that was great. I mean
3, like I said, had 5.
Plus Fiend Folio, plus like Monsters of Favor, and plus Monsters of something else, and blah blah blah, like Monsters of Destiny or whatever.
And I'll be honest, it feels like they're gouging.
Well,
a little bit to put different, and I get why they do it. It's not gouging. They are giving you a setting kind of situation and then adding monsters to it. So it is specific to what they're providing with you, but I don't care. Give me a monster manual too. Take all these monsters, take all the fucking crazy monsters from before and make them into 5e. That would be awesome.
They're trying to make combined that satisfies players and DMs, that makes them both want to buy it, because it's better to sell 5 books at a table than just 1 book to the DM. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to appeal to everyone at the table,
but I don't feel like they're doing
everyone to buy their own. Well, they definitely, in my opinion, fell flat with Fizbans. Like, they're probably not going to pick this book up again, because while I love dragons, I don't really need the information they provided for dragons.
Yep, I agree.
Now, I mean, if a dragon shows up in a deep dive that we're going to do in the future, of course, like, I'll pick it up, but I'm probably not going to be flipping through this book for inspiration for an adventure or anything like that.
Or personality trait for a Wormling.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the sad thing about it. It's, while I love lore, I love stat blocks, that type of stuff, it's just a bit too much fluff.
Yeah. It's too whimsical for you.
Yeah, even like $30 on D&D Beyond for the source book, like the compendium to get everything, even that, I'm just like, I'd rather just buy the stat blocks and be done with it.
And again, I'll stick with what I said before. It's not a bad book. I wouldn't spend the money on it. If someone gave it to me, great.
Yeah.
If Dumpstat pays for it, like they did, great.
Yes, which, again, thank you to the patrons for that.
Mm-hmm.
But And that's not me trying to like go up against, you know, $50 for a Dungeons and Dragons book. Like, that's fine. I'm happy to spend that much money.
This just isn't the book you would spend it on.
No, I wouldn't. I think game designers should be paid well. Actually, I think they're
underpaid.
Yeah, they're very underpaid. And like, I mean, you look at board games, like they've exploded in price, and people still buy board. And we should be able to recognize the value put in these books. Now, this book, unfortunately, just doesn't hit that value dollar for me. But there might be DMs who love flipping through those pages and reading all about the weird artwork you might find in a Dragon Horde and be like, this is great, I'm going to use every single insert of this. But that's just...
No, I agree with it. Yeah, this is not the book that if I had a choice and I had the $50 to spend on a book, I'd get a different book. I wouldn't get this. If I was sitting there and I was like, oh, I had an option of 3 books, I'd probably pick the other 2 before this one. That's me. Other people would be like, well, why the hell would I want a book on... Why would I want Tasha's? I don't care about the new system that they're using on, you know, racial bonuses. I'd rather have this because I love dragons.
Yeah.
Cool.
And like, if there is like a Draconomicon, like I would recommend, I would tell you to either look at 3E or the Draconomicons.
I love the 3E one. Yeah,
you like the 3E one the best. I like the 2 for 4E the best because I think they have some really cool ideas. Like, maybe not the entire book is worth a read through, but there's definitely a lot of awesome ideas in there. And also you can steal monster abilities from 4E, shove them into a 5E stat block, adjust the damage a little bit, and you're good to go there.
Yeah, it is much more. You can definitely, it's compatible. Yeah. It's much closer to being compatible.
Yeah, so if you are interested in those older Draconomicons, I believe they're available on Demon's Guild.
Yeah,
so
not bad, but not great.
If you give it a 1 out of 5, what would you?
3.
Okay.
2.5, 3.
Okay.
3. I'll give it a solid 3.
Wow, I don't even think I'm that generous. I was going to say, like, well, I guess 3. Yeah, 6 out of 10. Combine our scores together, 6 out of 10. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, just because it doesn't work for me so much doesn't mean that it's not a good book. It's just not, like you said, it's just not a fit for me.
Chris, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Yep.
Our next one will be out in December. If you guys have any topics you'd like us to discuss about, I know there's a new D-book for Strixhaven coming out. I'm not sure when the release date is on that one, but let me look it up and I'll edit this part out. Actually, the Strixhaven book is coming out December 7th, so that might be something that we look at for next episode. I don't know if you have any interest.
I don't have a clue what it's about. I haven't read any of the information.
It's from the Multiverse of Magic the Gathering.
Maybe not, but okay.
Well,
have you ever played Magic? I mean, I've played it.
I have not, mostly because I'm not. I don't have.
Yeah, no shit. Again, the boy got into it for a little bit, and I've played it before, but I'm like, it's overwhelming. So yeah, we can take a look at it.
I mean, if that's something you guys are interested in looking, let us know in the comments, message us on Discord, join the Dumpstat Discord, join our Twitter, all that fun stuff. There will be links in the show notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was going to say but let's be realistic. So there have been requests for putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to figure something out YouTube. Like, I just don't want to put our logo and then just our audio next hour.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. At YouTube, if it's going on YouTube, it'll take maybe longer than it will for the podcast. But we'll see. And that brings us to something else. We're trying a new microphone setup. So if
there's no podcast, you'll know why.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chris, I'm gonna leave you here. Well, I guess not really, because I'm still in your house.
Yeah, but get out.